A minister friend of mine told me about the time he was at a Christian conference, and he was lodging with an older man at that conference, and he was startled when he went into the restroom to see that the older man had bottle after bottle after bottle of different medications. And when he said to the older man, "Wow, you sure take a lot of pills," the man told him, "I'll tell you something, son, when you get older, your body goes from automatic to manual." Well, for many, sadly, that is exactly the case. But what if you could turn that around, reverse things, and go back from manual to automatic? We'll hear from a man who did just that. If you've recently been diagnosed with diabetes and you've just discovered this channel, let me recommend that you go to our Uploads page, which will give you access to every diabetic video we've posted since we began. As you work your way through all our videos, I believe you'll find the help you need. A link to our Uploads page is in the description. Here's an individual who says, "You probably won't remember me. That's understandable. I'd like to give you an update on me. I have lost 62 pounds and am now down to 160. That is significant. If he weighs 160 now, he weighed 222 before, so he is significantly down. He says, "My A1c is now 5.3. My daily readings fluctuate between 4.3 to 5.4. I'm off cholesterol meds, I'm off stomach meds, I'm off blood pressure meds. My severe arthritis is almost pain-free now, and I can actually walk several times around the block without pain." It's amazing what we take for granted. When we were kids, we could walk around the block, we could run around the block, we could skip around the block, and we never thought a thing about it. But now this guy is rejoicing because he can walk several times around the block and there's no pain. He says, "My irritable bowel syndrome has basically disappeared, along with digestive problems. I can't believe all these improvements." Rewind. I can't believe all these improvements, not just glucose down, but all these other things. He says, "I can't believe all these improvements, all because of my diet and lifestyle change." Wow, wow, wow. I'll tell anyone who will listen to me about all this because I am so elated over it all. Another thrilled individual because of the success he has seen. My dad used to have a saying he would repeat. I don't think it was original with him, but he said, "The man who has an experience is never at the mercy of the man who has an argument." Some people have an argument, or they have a theory, and they'll write books about it, and they'll talk about it, and they'll brag about it. But it's just an argument. There's no real evidence. But a guy like this, he has an experience. He has seen incredible improvement in his health. And he wouldn't care how much argument somebody gave him against this way of eating and this lifestyle. He knows it works, and he has seen it work. And he goes on to say, "I'll tell anybody who will listen to me about all this. I'm so elated." He says, "Sadly, I find those who give me the most pushback on this are usually diabetics themselves." Now, that is sad. So let's ask the question, why would diabetics push back so hard against him declaring the low-carb lifestyle? Why would they do that? Well, I think in some cases they've been brainwashed. And they've been told all you need to do is change from your white bread to brown bread, change from white rice to brown rice, and, don't eat so much sugary desserts, you'll be fine. And be sure and take these meds, and if you need more, come on back and I'll give you some more meds, and later we'll give you some more meds, or maybe some insulin. And so they hear a guy like this who says, "Well, I cut my carbs way down, and this is improved, and this is improved, and all of these things, severe arthritis, pain-free, glucose down, lost 62 pounds, no more irritable bowel syndrome. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful." And I like the phrase he uses, lifestyle change. What is your lifestyle? Your lifestyle is basically what you do every day. And we all have routines we fall into. Benedicta loves to accuse me of being such a routine person because I pretty much do the same thing every day. I get up in the morning and I go through certain routines and practices and pretty much throughout the day. Now, I try to be a little spontaneous once in a while for her sake, but I admit I love routines. But basically, we all have our routines. It doesn't matter whether you're like me or somebody else. We all have our patterns of living and eating that we fall into. And that can change. But he's saying, my lifestyle change made all the difference. Sometimes you're in a pattern of living and eating that is just killing you. It's just wrong. It's not good. It's not healthy. And so you need a lifestyle change. You need a new pattern. You need a new routine of what you put in your mouth, of the fact that you need to exercise more and so forth. When I was younger, before I had my blood sugar problems, at least that I knew of, I'm sure I had them still, or before then. But anyway, when I was younger, it was my standard practice to eat a sugary dessert with coffee every night while watching TV. Every night, I would turn on the TV in the evening, make me a cup of coffee, and have a big old donut or a big old cinnamon roll or a big old... I didn't have donuts too much because I always felt like I was too righteous for donuts. But I had cinnamon rolls and I had coconut pie, loved coconut pie. But something full of sugar every night. I gained weight. I became nearly diabetic. I developed all kinds of blood sugar issues and problems as a result. That was a lifestyle that was just flat unhealthy for me. It was just wrong. And of course, I've changed that. I don't do that anymore. And so part of the wisdom of living is just knowing when a lifestyle thing isn't working for you, isn't healthy, isn't good, and then making the changes you need to make. All right, here is another comment. This person says, Dr. Fung adamantly says lowering blood sugar has nothing to do with reversing type 2 diabetes. Lowering blood sugar is treating the symptom, not the disease. The trick is to lower your insulin resistance. This is the main purpose for fasting. Giving someone with type 2 diabetes more insulin is just crazy, which makes no sense because type 2 diabetes means you already have too much insulin in your body. Well, I think there is some wisdom and truth in what he's saying, and I would be the last one to want to disagree with Dr. Fung. And, of course, he's not Dr. Fung. He's just saying that one thing that Dr. Fung said. But when he says that type 2 diabetes means you have too much insulin in your body, I don't buy it completely. I will say this, for most type 2 diabetics, that is the truth, but not all. There are some type 2 diabetics that are sliding toward type 1, or they're about halfway there, and they're not making enough insulin in their body. Their beta cells have been either killed or swamped with all the fat on the pancreas, and they're just not functioning well, and they're just giving out a trickle of insulin. And there's only a doctor and the proper test can tell you that. But we should not assume that every single type 2 diabetic has too much insulin. Probably most do, and I know that was the case for me. But there are going to be some that aren't making much at all. And secondly, he acts like, well, lowering your type 2, your glucose levels, that really is meaningless. What you need to do is reverse your diabetes. Well, certainly, reversing diabetes is the best thing of all, but lowering glucose levels is not bad any way you can do it. And even if you say, well, I'm still a bit insulin resistant, I've still got some issues, but my glucose levels are doing well. And I've got an A1c of 5.5 and my normal fasting glucose is around 100. Well, you're doing a whole lot better than if you didn't do that. And you say, well, my fasting glucose is 220 and my A1c is, 11. So by all means, lower your glucose. There is such a thing as glucose toxicity. Some people say, well, insulin is the only problem that you really have. High glucose means nothing. Let's consider a type 1 diabetic. The type 1 diabetic produces no insulin. And if you have the theory, if you hold to the idea that insulin is the only problem and high glucose levels means nothing, then the type 1 diabetic should be in fine shape, right? He produces no insulin. But he's in terrible shape. He'll die if he doesn't get some insulin. So you cannot suggest that insulin is the only issue. High glucose is a problem, a serious problem. High insulin is a problem, a serious problem. And the best approach is that which will bring both those levels down, the glucose down, the high insulin down. But some people get so obsessed with the high insulin, they act like high glucose means nothing and don't even worry about whether your insulin is high or low. It means nothing at all. No, it does mean something. If you can get that A1c down, even if you have to take metformin or something, get it down and then start working on some of the other issues and hopefully get off the meds if you can. But we should not suppose that high glucose doesn't matter. It does matter, my friend. Now, this having been said, I do need to say that if you compare the two, the insulin versus the high glucose, high insulin versus high glucose, the insulin is the more important, because if you can get your insulin levels in line and you can get those insulin levels low, almost certainly your glucose will also be right there at a low level. And in fact, almost all of us started out with high insulin long before we ever got to high glucose, probably decades before we ever saw the high glucose numbers. We had high insulin. I suspect in my own life, although I never had a test, I had high insulin in my 20s, but I didn't start seeing the high glucose until my 40s. So insulin is very important, very critical to deal with. And the good news is that both the high insulin and the high glucose are going to require the same exact remedy, and that is a low-carb diet and some time-restricted eating. The same remedy, the same lifestyle that will fix your glucose will fix your insulin, especially with the time-restricted eating. All right, well, that is it for now. I hope you enjoyed this and hope that you will give it a thumbs up. Why do we always ask for thumbs up? Not because we're such egotists that we love to look and see how many likes we got, but because YouTube notices that and they will promote videos that get more thumbs up rather than those that don't. It's not the only thing they look at, but it is one of the things. I hope also you'll consider subscribing to this channel, and that way, if you click that bell, you'll be notified when we post new videos. God bless. See you again soon.